Hello children, welcome to social science class. In yesterday's class we learnt about the difference between the columns which was provided by the public health service and the private health service. We come to know what do you mean by public health service and the private health centers with the story the cost of a cure. Did you all read that story? And we from the thing what are the drawbacks which has been happened for Hakim Sheikh by the public health centers. We learnt about it in that particular story, right? So today we are going to learn why it is called as public health service, and we are going to learn about the advantages of the public health service and the advantages of the private health service. So today we are going to learn about it. So first let us know why is it called public health service. So here when we go to the government hospital as it was run by the government, as it was free of cost. So here the government insists us to come for the government hospital. For example, yesterday's class I told you that public health service is a chain of health centers, and the hospitals are run by the government. So here the government doesn't have the enough money to run, so that what they'll do, they'll get the public taxes. So that they'll get the public taxes. Who are paying the public taxes? As we, as a citizen of government, we are paying the public taxes to the government. So from that money, as they are performing this government hospital. So as people, we have the duty to pay the tax. So on the first day I told you what are the taxes we are spending for the government, isn't it? So as we need to pay those taxes, as the government will take the tax money for these purposes. Okay. So here we learn so why is it called public health services is about the resources that are required to run these hospitals. I told you now, what do you mean by resources? For example, the doctors need the stethoscope, the equipments like knife, scissors for the operation, for syringe, the injections, the medicines. So everything will tell it as resources. So that requirement have to run for these hospitals that are obtained from the money that we pay as a tax as a citizen to the government. So as I explained here now, so this health service is called the public for many reasons. So in order to fulfill the commitment which are provided for all the citizens, so here the government established these hospitals as the health centers. So here we need not to pay any money for that, isn't it? So here as we are spending the taxes, so we need not to pay any money for the treatment here. And so the such facilities which are added for the people, one of the most aspects of the public health system is to provide the quality healthcare services free of cost for the people one who are suffering. As for example, the poor people, they can get the free of cost in their treatments, isn't it? And another thing, the public health care center, what they are doing is they are preventing to spread the diseases like TB, malaria, jaundice, cholera, diarrhea, and chikungunya. So how they are preventing? For example, as they are forming a campaign, isn't it, to see that mosquitoes doesn't breed in the water cooler or in the rooftops. For example, inside a house like fridge backside the outcome water, and for example they'll be insisting us not to use the old tires, and you have to throw out the coconut shell like that. So for example, when the chikungunya got severe, the campaign came inside a house to check a house whether a house was clean, isn't it or not? So these are all maintained by the government. So these are the actions they are taking initial attention. No, the mosquitoes should not breed, so that the people would not be affected by these kinds of diseases like malaria, jaundice or cholera, diarrhea or chikungunya. So these are the steps, initial attention that these are taken by the public health centers, isn't it? Then the government opened them in order to fulfill its commitment of providing healthcare to all the citizens. As I told now, so here the government hospital has been opened for the poor people, so those people can get the free of cost treatment, so that all the citizens can use that. Not only the poor people, as we are also not rich as much, isn't it? So we also can use this. For example, as we people are affected by this corona, you know one thing, those people, those corona people were not admitted in the private hospital. No, none of the private hospital has taken these patients. So everyone who was affected by this corona, we went to the public health service only, isn't it? So only those doctors can give the treatment for this corona. So all the corona people were admitted in the government hospital. We all know that, isn't it? So these are the thing happened in the public health services. So this government is providing healthcare center as free of cost. At the same time, nowadays they are taking care of all the citizens of the people. So now let us learn about the advantages of the public healthcare system. So the first advantage is about public healthcare facilities are meant for everyone, not only for poor people, as we also can use it, isn't it? So that was the first advantage. And the second advantage is of the public healthcare services. As I told you, it's a low cost or it was free of cost. So we have to spend only enough of money and we can get a free treatment also in the public healthcare system. So here the next point says the public healthcare services prevent the spread of diseases such as malaria. I told you so many diseases, isn't it? So this healthcare services is preventing the people from malaria, jaundice, cholera, diarrhea, chikungunya by arranging a campaign. So that they come inside our house and they'll be looking after that like a inspection. So this is done by the public healthcare service. Then the next point is, for example, the people can raise question if the public healthcare services are not functioning properly. So we know that from yesterday we heard the story about the Hakim Sheikh, and he was a member of the BBKMS. So here he was admitted in the private hospital. Why? So as he fell down from the train, as he has taken to the government hospital, the most of the hospital, among 8 hospitals, was refused to take the Hakim Sheikh because there was no spare bed and there was no enough of doctors, and so many equipments was not there to cure the treatment, to give the treatment for him. So these are things happened. So that what happened, the Hakim Sheikh and the member, for example PBK MS, they gave the complaint to the court. They can file the case in the court. So that same thing happened for Hakim Sheikh. So that the government itself, the state government, the court asked the state government to give the money that he spent on his treatment, which he was treated in the private hospital. We all know at last he was admitted in the private hospital, isn't it? Because they have the equipments, the enough of doctors, the spare bed, everything was there. So at last they filed the case, so that the court itself asked the state government to pay the money for him. So this we can come to know that if the public healthcare center was not functioning properly, as we can raise our questions and we can file a case in the court. So these are the advantages of the public healthcare system. The next system we are going to see is about private healthcare system. That is of what are the facilities in the private health facility. So as we saw in the cost of a cure yesterday, about the story about the Aman and Ranjan. So we come to know that Ranjan comes from a well-to-do family and Aman was from the poor family. So as we compare to Ranjan and Aman, Ranjan, when he entered inside the hospital, as he paid 500 rupees, as he has to move on to each and every treatment, it acts very fast, isn't it? So as he gone to the hospital, within a second he met the doctor. So after that he wrote everything like blood test, whatever test he has to take. Within 1 hour he came to know about what happened. So that again he met the doctor. So he got the result as soon as possible, right? But when we compare it to Amin, as he has to take a long time, he has to stand in a queue, and the blood test comes after 3 days, and after that 3 days he has to go to the hospital to get the proper medicines. So you can see the variations between Aman and Ranjan by the hospitality, isn't it? So this, when we compare it to the public, so here the private health facilities are making very fast, and they'll make the treatment very fast for the people one who are admitted there. So here the clinics are there, private health, in the private health facilities, so many clinics are there, and hospitals are running over there. Like in Tuticorin, we can see AVM Hospital, Arul Raj Hospital. So many hospitals are there, isn't it? Then medical shops, private medical shops are there, labs are there, and RMP. What do you mean by RMP? Means they will not be working as a doctor. So as they can give some medical advice. Okay, so this for this fever you can take this tablets. So for this you can take like this medicines, like they'll be advising you. So here the private health facilities consist of clinics, hospitals, many medical shops, labs, RMP. RMP means registered medical practitioners. So they are registered as a medical practitioners, but they are not doctors. They can do, they have done the diploma, like, okay. Then the next thing is of this private health facilities, like this private health concern are done by the individuals. That means each person or companies, like for their own profit. So they'll run like such private hospitals, and they'll run for their own profit, and it was not owned by the government. So if anything happened, the government will not be responsible for the public, isn't it? So for the particular person who was admitted in the hospital. Then the next point says that these services are more expensive than the public health services, so it's difficult for the poor people to afford them. So here we come to know that the public health centers are free of cost, or we can give, or we can pay only the low cost money, isn't it? But here when we compare it to the public health a public health service, it was more expensive than that, isn't it? So here the poor people may not be afford much money. So what they have to do, they have to pay a lot of money. They have to borrow the money from others to pay for the private health facilities. So when we compare to the public and private, so public is the best. So here the government has to improve a lot, as we are paying the tax for the government, isn't it? So today we learned about the public health centers and what are the facilities available in the private health centers, and we learned about the advantages of the public health centers. As I'll tell you an example. As my younger daughter, when he was admitted in the AVM hospital, so as I entered inside itself, the receptionist asked for 200 rupees. So that is the thing which they'll give file, like. So we have to take the file and we have to see the doctor. So the doctor, he won't say anything else. He'll just check the patient, as my daughter was checked by the doctor, and he'll be writing something else in the thing, and he'll be giving to the nurse. So at that moment, what the nurse will do, so she will give us advice to get everything from the medical shop. So where will be the medical shop? The medical shop will be there inside the hospital itself. So what they'll do, they'll write it so many medicines, unwanted medicines and all. So you know one thing, they gave 4 tablets, and they gave 1 injection to inject herself. So what I did, I bought all the medicines and I gave. So for example, she injected my daughter, the nurse, one who injected my daughter, she advised my daughter to lie down for 15 minutes in a bed. So you know one thing, within 15 minutes, I paid 2,700 as the fee. So see the difference between the public healthcare center and the private health. Within 15 minutes, I paid 2,700 for the medicine, as well as for the bed, as well as for the entrance fees. So look into it. So this is the thing happened. But when we compare to the public healthcare center, the thing which was happening, the treatment done very fast. The treatment was very fast, as she got cured within 15 minutes. And you know one thing, the 4 tablets which they gave, I didn't give it to my daughter. So I just throw it into the dustbin. So they'll give unwanted medicines, unwanted things. But if you go to the government hospital, they'll treat you in a good manner. So, and you will get the free of cost. So here, if people you want, you can continue with the public healthcare center. So today I'll just post these PPT in your thing, kindly copy this and send your homework in the Google Classroom. Thank you, my dear children.